Hey everyone. So, generative AI, it's everywhere, right? And while the excitement is huge, it's also bringing a ton of uncertainty, especially for businesses. Today, we're going to cut right through all that noise and lay out a really practical guide for how you can develop and deploy AI that you can actually trust. Let's dive in.
And this quote from Amazon Web Services, it just hits the nail on the head. You see all this incredible potential with AI, but trying to get from the hype to a safe, real-world application, well, it can feel like a huge leap. There are some very legitimate risks to think about, and that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the core dilemma businesses are facing. Then, we'll walk through a framework for trust, step by step. We're talking building safety in from the very beginning, testing it to make sure it works, and finally, turning this whole process into your biggest competitive advantage. So, let's get right into it. What is the big thing holding businesses back? Well, it's this constant balancing act, right? On one side, you've got these massive opportunities, and on the other, some very real risks that you just can't ignore. And if you want to know what those risks are, this data from a recent survey really paints a picture. Look at this. The number one concern for small business owners, at a whopping 44%, isn't even the AI going rogue. It's the security of their own data. And right on its heels is the cost of getting it all set up. These two fears alone are enough to make anyone hesitate. So how do we get past those fears? Well, the key is to stop guessing and start planning. Building AI that people can trust isn't some kind of dark art. It's about having a clear, governed strategy in place from day one. And that's where this term AI governance comes in. I know, it sounds a little corporate and complex, but it's actually pretty simple. Think of it as your company's playbook. It's the set of rules you follow to make sure that any AI tool you use is responsible, it's ethical, and it's actually helping you, not creating a bunch of new headaches. And the best part? You don't have to invent this all from scratch. There are blueprints out there to help. Take Singapore's Model AI Governance Framework, for example. It gives you this incredibly solid foundation built on three core ideas: that AI decisions need to be explainable, they have to be transparent, and they've got to be fair. It's a fantastic place to start. Okay, now we get to the actual construction phase, and I want you to think of these next steps less like optional extras and more like the mandatory building codes for any AI project you're working on. Safety can't be something you bolt on at the end. It has to be baked right into the foundation. There are really three crucial steps here. First, you've got your baseline safety practices across the entire process. Then, after the model has its initial training, you fine-tune it. A really key technique for this is something called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. Basically, that's where humans step in to teach and guide the model so its values align with ours. And third, you have to aggressively tackle those technical flaws, like hallucinations, when the AI just makes stuff up. You can use methods like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, to ground the AI in a solid base of facts. Okay, so you followed the building codes, you've put in the work, and now you have a safe, robust AI system. That's awesome. But now you've got a new problem. How do you actually prove it to your customers and your stakeholders? This is the question, isn't it? It's the one every single responsible developer has to answer. Because trust isn't just about the great work you do behind the scenes. It's about what you can clearly and confidently show to the rest of the world. And the answer is surprisingly simple, and something you see every day. You give it an ingredient label. Seriously. Just like the food we buy at the grocery store, transparency in AI needs to be clear, standardized, and super easy for anyone to understand at a glance. So, what's on this food label for AI? Well, first up is its intended use. What is this thing designed to do? And just as important, what is it not designed to do? Next, you need an overview of the data sources, because that helps everyone understand where potential biases might come from. And so crucially, it has to list the known risks and limitations. And look, that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of honesty. It empowers your users to make smart, informed decisions. Of course, even with a great blueprint and a clear label, you still have to test the final product, right? This is your quality assurance phase. This is where you get really rigorous and verify that your AI is safe, it's secure, and it's actually ready to be out in the real world. And there are two main ways to do this. On one side, you have what's called red teaming. This is where a dedicated team literally tries to break the model. They're like professional hackers looking for any way to make it mess up.
On the other side, you have benchmarking, which is more like a standardized test. You run the model against well-known, structured datasets to measure its performance. And you absolutely need both to get the full picture of your AI's strengths and weaknesses.
The whole industry is moving toward making these tests more consistent, which is great news. The AI Verify Foundation, for instance, is pushing for standardized evaluations in a few key areas. They're looking at a model's robustness, how well it holds up to attack, its factuality, does it tell the truth, its tendency to create biased or toxic content, and how it governs data. This helps create a common language for what safe actually means. So let's pull all of this together. I know it can seem like a lot. You've got frameworks, safety codes, food labels, all this testing. But it's so important to stop seeing this as a chore and start seeing it for what it is, a massive strategic advantage.
And this quote from Jeff Pickett just says it all. This isn't some abstract idea for the future. The companies that are getting ahead, the ones building a real competitive edge, are the ones doing this stuff right now. In a world where AI can make decisions on its own, trust is everything. It's the new currency.
So, what should you walk away with today? 3 things. First, trust isn't just a nice to have, it's a core business strategy. Good governance is how you build loyalty and protect your reputation. Second, clarity is your best friend. Having a clear plan gets rid of all the guesswork. And finally, please remember, you are not alone on this journey. There are fantastic resources and frameworks out there ready to guide you. And that leaves us with one final thought to ponder. As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into your business, it's going to be making decisions. So the most important question you need to be able to answer for your customers, for regulators, and for yourself is this: can you explain them?